Hello and welcome to today's video, and today we're going to be refitting the head assembly to the 8600 and also refitting the head amp board, which is also combined with a timer backup battery. The backup battery I removed last week, and I've also cleaned up the board with some white vinegar and some isopropyl. Now the head assembly itself is as you can see, freed off and spinning freely without any friction. Upper head drum has been refitted, and if we look we can see that the heads, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, all seem to, oh sorry I wasn't in shot, all of the heads, if I just focus in on that, all the head chips seem to be okay. They haven't snapped, so I'm hoping that we should be alright. A little bit about the cables attaching to the head. Excuse me. This is for one head pair. This is for another head pair. This goes to the servo sync board. This is a head drum heater. As you can see the little heater element on there. Basically used when the head has been, or the machine has been out for a while. As in out, stored somewhere which is cold, brought in to somewhere which is warm. Used in conjunction with this moisture sensor. So it won't actually allow the machine to play a tape until the drum, all the condensation has actually gone from the drum. That's why it's got the little drum heater on it. And as you can see, that just has a direct earth onto there. So, first thing that we need to do is just carefully put that down over here. Got a selection of belts as well, which these were the ones which I boiled in a previous video, and as you can see they do seem to have restored a certain amount of elasticity. So you can see that that is a lot more elastic than it once was. We've also got some square belts as well, so hopefully we'll be able to find something in here along with these new old stock belts for other VCRs. We'll be able to find something in here that we can use on this deck to get it rebelted. Right, may as well start off with getting this top cover off. And for the sake of getting into it quickly, I've only held it on with one screw. And that should go up and out the way. I'll just move this forward a bit. There we go. So now we're into the machine. And you can see, you might not be able to, but you should be able to see these wires here. Those are from the audio head, and they just tuck out of the way into the corner here. I do need to rerun all of the wiring so that we actually do get it completely out of the way properly. What that should allow me to do is, I've got the head drum here. Should be able to feed this through. So there's a little slot here which has got space for wiring, a little slot on the other side that's got space for wiring. But what I think I'll need to do first is to get the base off of the machine and reroute some of these cables so that they are more appropriately routed. So obviously coming around to the underside, and we're going to remove the base. So I left all of the screws in this one last week. There we go, so that's going to come hopefully up There's the possibility that it's snagging on something, but nope, that's okay. That's come up and that will go out of the way. Now we have this main board, and that is held in two places. So we have a screw here which attaches it to the chassis. Another screw over here, again attaching that to the chassis. There we go. And what will happen now is these little bits on the side will allow me to pull the board back like so. And then I can raise the board upwards and get it out of the way. Like so. We've got these two cables, I don't know if you can see those, but there's two cables here. They go into this audio amplifier board there, audio sync, audio amp board. So we'll sort those out in a moment. But what we do need to sort out is these, because these wires would have originally gone through conduits down at the base of the machine. And to keep things neat, I want to try and, as far as possible, replicate that. Now, what we will do is I'll get a better shot and you can see we can go through together on this. Right, so we're in a better position now. So I've got the board, just holding the board with my hand, and what I want to do is just reroute these wires here so that they go through the machine more appropriately and neatly. There's a cable tie point here, so I can cable tie those off once we've got everything sorted out. But ideally I'm going to try and run them through the conduits. So I'm going to start with the shortest one first, which is this little one here, which goes onto there, which I think is probably one of the audio sync cables, I would guess. It could also be an arrays head one, but it is going to the sync board, so I would assume it might be for either audio or video sync. It's going to be one of the two. So you've obviously got the combined audio and synchronization head. I would guess it's probably sync actually, because the audio cables are here, this yellow and red one, and they go off to the audio board, which is separate. So I can go underneath there, bring that through. What I'm trying to do is get it so these are out of the way. I could probably bring those back through actually. So if I bring this yellow one and this red one with the orange on it back through, I can get those nicely tucked out of the way. So leave that blue one out of the way for the moment, so that this one there is at the bottom. That's coming through, going under here. Then tuck into here. So that's going to be another, whoops, that's another one that I need to do that too. Then that one can pull through, and that will plug back into where I took it out of actually. So where did that come from? That was here. There we go, so there's a little white connector there. But obviously when you lower that down, a lot of attention is taken off of that, so that works fine for me. This one is a black connector, and that goes up to, can't see the connection, title, but it's labelled, it might be P501 actually, because all of the other diodes and resistors in that region are labelled. So that one we're going to follow a similar trajectory, so we're going to go out, keeping close to the frame of the machine there. Going to go underneath here, so we'll go through here. Might need to prise that back a bit to do so. So we'll come out under here. Oops, that's moving. There we go, that's under. There we go. So we'll come underneath this one, like so. Underneath there, like so. Under this main loom here. There. And you've got this one here, which I'll come basically push down. Just tuck underneath there, so I need to just hold that there for a moment. And go. Oops. There we go. Then this blue one will come back up and it will plug into where I unplugged it, which was there. Probably can't see that on the board, but I've lost it again. There you go. So that will come up there. That will plug back in like so, and then you've got another little conduit there, conduit container to hold it, clip in there. That's nicely clipped into place, and the rest of that will, once it's all back in place, will settle down like so. Now these two cables which go to the audio board on the back, now what I want to do with those is I've got to go out and then down. So to do this, I think it's probably going to be sensible if I just rest these like so, turn the unit around. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. Just double check. Yes, you can. And we've got this board on the back here. Now this board, two screws holding it in, and if we get these screws out of the way, we can take the board out and we can free off a huge amount of real estate, which will give us the opportunity to properly reroute the cabling. So I made the mistake last time when I was going through trying to disassemble the machine. I made the mistake of thinking that there were cables supposed to be going into places they don't actually need to go. So that's why we have bits of the machine disassembled which don't need to be disassembled. So we've got two connectors in here. This is the what looks like the audio amp stage, and we'll have the two cables plugged into those. Excuse the chair. So to do that, I'm going to move that, just leave that there for the moment. Now I'll apologise, this will be out of sight of the camera, but what I'm doing is I'm going to feed both of these cables over and through like so. And they will be, if you see, they're nicely nested out of the way. What I can then do is bring them under everything else. Can bring this back up like so, and this I should be able to bring these into here. So I should be able to go into there with this one. So it can just sit like that. This one can also come up, go underneath there. That can come through here, clip into there. So that's that back in place. That's that one back in place. We can put the RF shield back over it. Like so. what we can do now is we can just turn that upside down, and what I should be able to do is slot that into there and there, and that can go back in. I'll screw it in now, reason being I don't want to forget to do it, so always put things as you're reassembling, always put them back as you're going along. Even if you need to take them off again for any reason, I tend to like to put them back in, because at this stage I don't know if I've got to remove it again, so it's just me keeping things in the places where they should be. It also means you don't lose the screws that could be holding it in, especially if there's special screws. These aren't actually special in any way, shape or form, they're quite standard, but it's just a good idea. So that's going back in. Got a feeling it's actually forged a completely new screw path, to be honest, but that's back in place. A little bit loose. I think that's both sides actually. Actually, I'll just undo this one again, as I think I may have cross-threaded it slightly. There, that's better. Something that I do with spark plugs in car engines actually is when I'm renewing a set of spark plugs, say on the Jag or the Micra, I will put them in and I will turn them counterclockwise so that the thread, it jumps and you feel it actually lock into the thread, and then you screw them in. And really, when you're putting in spark plugs and indeed screws into these sort of things, you shouldn't have any resistance. If you feel resistance, stop immediately and wind it back, because you could risk stripping the thread. In this instance, it wouldn't be too terrible if you stripped the thread, because it's easily solved. In the instance of a car and spark plugs, it's a slightly painful experience, let's say. Anyway, so those are now in, and I can hopefully probably tuck them underneath this one here, so they can go into there and nestle themselves in happily. There we go. That keeps those, all of those, nicely out of the way. Now we have the main event, which is going to be our video head. That's the power supply for the motor. That comes from somewhere. I'm not going to lie, I'm not sure where. It seems to come along here, and as predicted, it's probably going on to, yeah, I think that's actually taking it direct from the DC side of the power supply, which would make sense actually. Perfect sense, in fact. So we have the head assembly. There's a board which I've got to refit, which we will do in a minute, and there's these two little slots here which the two head signal cables will go through. The main thing is to get the head back into the machine. So to do that, I'm going to lower this board. We're going to go back, down, and oops, back in again. Gently does it, like so. We're going to go over and down. So don't worry, that is supposed to move because that's my tuner module, but we've also got a little slot under there for the head amp board and timer backup board. So the head itself, we have a number of conduits that we need to be aware of. So we've got these two here. That's going to be my most annoying cable to get through actually, is the one for the drum heater. And let's have a look a second, I'm just trying to work this out. So let's get that out of the way. Right, so that's those out of the way. For a minute, let's just feed them through. We can sort out where they go once we're in the machine. So the head will sit on 2 points, here and here. And just for ease of access, I'm just going to pop this out. That's better, just give it a bit of space. It might actually be easier to do this with the machine on its side, so just move that out of the way. We're going to upend the entire unit, like so. Flip the board out. There we go. There we go, so the board out of the way. That gives me a bit more space. So you can see that has my hand. Hello. And what I should be able to do now, if I bring the camera back, you can hopefully get a bit of a insight onto the action. So we'll go through all of the relevant cables. So if I feed this orange one through first, then once the orange is through, we can bring through the really annoying pink and brown, and then the other two. And whilst that is coming through, I need to plug in that drum motor connector, which is around here somewhere. Unless it's gone back underneath, which it has, yes, there it is. So that will come over there. Should see that now. There it is. Oh, getting caught on the circuit board. There we are, that's actually feeding into relevant conduit areas. So you've got the pink and the brown on separate sides, and what you do is you've got the brown going down one side, and then you've got the pink going down the other, and then obviously you've got your set of heads coming down as well, the head signal cables. So that will then go straight down effectively, but first off we do need to plug this power connector in, which I can bring that up, and what I'm hoping is, so you need to be on this side of the machine. It really is a tight fit because you've got the power connector, it's really tight in there. You've got the head signal and other cables coming down as well. That power connector is really tight in there. There's no getting away from that. That is really in there. And I tell a lie about where the power for that comes from. It comes from the servo board, which would actually make a lot more sense than it coming from the main power supply board. I don't know why I thought that. But yes, supply for that is coming from the from there. Sorry, head in the way. Continuing to go down. That one is continuing to go through. That's going to cause us pain, so I need to reroute that power cable. So the power cable will come out, pink and brown come through, and we've got that side. Now I want to get the power connector out of the way and underneath all of the other cables on the head. Then that can come up on its own through the conduit there. There we go, that's better. And that should all come and sit in, hopefully. I need to shift that around, like so. Actually, yeah, that does bring that power connector then nicely in line with the drum motor. And after a little bit more persuasion, it'd be a lot easier if this tape wasn't in the way. What I'm doing now is I'm seeing if I can manually actuate some of the so let's wind that back. So this is the loading ring, so I'm just going to wind that back. That's out of the way now. And yep, that's the tape free. So what I should be able to do now is, there you go, that's your eject solenoid, and that's the tape out. So we'll just, there we go, one unscathed tape. Where's the sleeve for that? I had it somewhere. I will put it back on tape later. Right, so anyway, that actually does give us a bit more space because I can get right into here now. And what I should be able to do is plug this into there, which is what I want to do. Yes, so let's have a look at it. God, it really is a fiddle, this. I'm going to see if I have better luck with some needle nose pliers. Yes, I do actually. That has actually, didn't think that would work, but has that slotted in? I think it has actually, you know. So what I should now be able to do is just feed the rest of these head and other cables through. So we've got our brown, we've got our pink, and there you go, head assemblies back in place. So now we've got the 2 screws that we need to put onto the head, and those, they're actually unique to the entire machine. They have quite a large thread with a reasonably large washer. And that will go to there. Whoops. So there's one. Sorry, my head will go in the way. There's the other. For some reason that's not, oh that's better. For some reason it wasn't sitting in properly, but now it is. What I might need to do actually is loosen this one off on this side, and that will allow, hopefully allow this one, sorry I wasn't showing you there, but hopefully allow that one to go in fully, and then this one to also sit in there completely and completely. Now check that we are flush and flush, which we are. What we can do now is put the machine back down this way, gently does it. There we go. And now we have the head back in the machine. So we have this big orange cable first off. This orange cable is our sync cable, and that's going to go into the various conduits and underneath the main loom there, like so. Just check that everybody can see. Yes, I think you can. Then we're going all the way northwards on this board to this top connector there, and I'm actually going to keep that out of its conduit for the minute, or the clips rather, because I want to keep the tension off of it. So there we go, that's those in place. It is underneath there, and when we lower this we can actually just tuck it back in there. These head cables, you got one going in through here. There we go, that's going to go into that part of the machine which we'll be dealing with in a minute. We have the other head signal cable is going to go under here, so I'm going to put it under everything else. Like so, and that is going to go through here, and we will be meeting that again in a little bit. Now that can tuck itself out of the way. What we can do later is cable tie that back into position. This one, which is our combined head and moisture sensor and drum heater, I'm going to go probably, actually I'll just bring this one back out because I want to get, I think I probably want to get this one underneath this. So I'll bring this one back out, gently does it, so you don't pull off the end connector. And what I was thinking, if I can come over like so, that will drive my head signal cables over it. Head signal cables can then go back into here and through here. There you go, they're through. There we are. That could be cable tied onto there for extra security, but it means that this one can now be tucked out of the way down here. It can go underneath here, keeping it nicely tucked out of the way, like so. So that keeps it out of the way of everything. And then that can go underneath there, and we'll fish it back into there in a second, but that thing can go underneath everything else. And there is a connector for it right at the bottom of the servo board, which is right the way down the very bottom. Little tiny little black connector. Has 3 pins, only 2 are connected. And that will go into there, like so. Whoops. So that's now in place. So those are out of the way. So what I will need to do is put those back in to there. So that's nicely out of the way. That's all out of the way. And that is good. Now, this one to there belt wise, so we might as well sort these out whilst we're under here. That flat belt there could really do with replacement. So let's see what we've got. Flat and square wise, I think all the flat belts I've got might be too long. Actually, I'll try it. But seeing as we're in here, we may as well replace the belts so that when we go topside I don't have to do this again. So we'll do that one and this one. This is going to be our capstan drive belt. So this is quite common and also sort of in line with what Sony were doing at the time. So Sony would have a separate head motor, and the head motor would drive this lower spool here. This upper spool would then drive, no, hang on a minute, upper spool. This lower spool would drive this belt here, which would drive the idlers. As you can see, it moves quite freely. And we've got this one here. I'm not sure what that does, but that's a very small belt. Again, we will replace that. I've got a feeling the idler tyres are probably a bit toasted as well, so we will have a look at those when we're topside again. I have some idler tyres from the C7 which I boiled, so you never know, we might get away with something. But do you see what I mean about the flat belts? So this one is very dry, and when you stretch it, it doesn't really return to size, or return to its original size rather. So what I will do is I will not throw that one away, I will keep it and I will boil it later. Now back into here, so down to there, and I'm hoping this won't be too big, and then down to there. It's a bit misshapen, but is it working? Or is it misshapen because it might be too big, maybe? That's the one we took off. Do I have any more flat belts? Wait a minute, what's this one? That's going to be way too big. The one that's on there now is barely acceptable, to be honest. I'm half tempted to put the one that I took off back on. So the one I took off is, let's do a size comparison. It is actually a tiny bit smaller than the one I was trying to put on. I'm actually going to leave this one in. I don't like not replacing belts, but when the one that you're putting on is obviously worse than the one that you've taken off, even though it's more supple, it's obviously for a machine that used a belt in a bigger position, but this one's got a lot of slip on it, whereas the other one, the new one I put on, which was bigger, had nowhere near as much slip, which is interesting. Right. Boiled replacement. Move that to one side. Let's try this one. That seems better. And what I'll also do is put the old one over it as well. I don't normally like doubling up on belts, but sometimes it does help. It's a really bad way of doing things. In fact, such a bad way of doing things, I'm not going to do it. That really is shockingly poor. But we shall see if that does anything for us. Other way round. There we go. And I've got those two small ones that we were using just now. So there we go. Small into here. Oops, that's a bit too far. Right, loosen that one so this other side's got a chance to sit back in. There we go. There we go, that's that one, and that's that one. Now, other belts. So, this tiny little thing here, which is probably past its best. Very tiny. Put that to one side. I have something equally as tiny. I need to make sure whatever I've put that onto it's actually gone into the other side of. I can't see underneath this what it's supposed to tuck into, but that seems to be okay. Right, larger belts. So we have a larger square belt to go over the head to that intermediary pulley. Might have something here that's suitable. Well, we need to do that bottom pulley first. And that's annoying because the bottom pulley, the solenoid is in the way, so I really want to get down this bottom one. Let's see if this one fits though. So that would be like that. That fits nicely. But until we get that done, we need to get this out of the way. So this is held in, there is like a circlip on here, but I don't want to disturb that if possible. Although if I have to, I can, so I do have a range of circlips I can replace that with. In fact, I have a range of circlips I can replace that with, so let's get that out of the way. That's probably way too big for this. Yes, it is. So there we are, on there. Oops. There we go, that's out of the way. So that allows us to move that off. I think there's a rather cool little gearbox in there as well, that's sweet. Look at that. How cool is that? That's held in place by this, so I do have circlips to replace this as well, but this one should be reasonably okay. There we go, that one's actually come off nice and easy. So I should be able to move that out of the way. That's held in 2 screws over there. There's one. There's the other. I'm getting into. Okay. There we go. Oh joy, that's something to be wary of. It is on a sort of a staggered mechanism, so we need to be careful with that because that could be a pig to reassemble if we don't do it properly. What I should be able to do now, hopefully, is basically move this off of here, like so, and this shaft should be able to move this off here. God, fiddly is not the word for this. That is really, really fiddly. And the thing is, you've got a spring there as well, which is going to be extra fun to get back into place. But it has to come off. Off it shall come. Did they even expect you to change a belt on this? I guess that was always the case of, no, you will never change a belt. Anyway, I'll notice there's another screw here, which might actually allow me to remove this without disturbing anything further. Don't want to do that too much, otherwise that will ground off. What a pig. It's an absolute pig, this is. Let's move the machine forward. Move that back with my head, it's really professional. And let's go in to there. And oh, it's rounding. Alright, let's assume that doesn't want to go. So I will give you one more chance because it might enable you to come out without having to disturb everything here. Actually, I've just realised something. Let's have a look at my screw bits. That might not do job. Let's come in through the back. Nah, not long enough. Let's have a think. So we need to get that longer. Anything I can use to make it longer? I don't think there is. Actually, what if I go shorter? A lot shorter, but with an adapter that might work. Let's try that. Ideally I want to go longer as it will give me more I'll tell you what might help is getting this out of the way. There we go. And over here. There we are. Let's try this again. So there. No, that's not going to do. Nope, that's not going to do either. Guess it's back to plan A, which is because the thing is, if I can get this off, that would allow me to just spin that round and bring that out, but that really is easier said than done. Alright, let's try one more. See if that does anything for us. So we're going to go in with this one now. Come on. Yes, I think. Yes. She's freeing off. What a debacle that was. So, hopefully with that out of the way, actually it's not too bad at all. I'm hoping that, there you go. Look at that. Perfect. Also perfect. Excellent stuff. There you go, out of the way. Now we can put the little gearbox over there. Rest this down. We can reassemble this off of camera to ensure that it's back to its springy old self. So to do that, I need to come, hang on a minute, bring it on camera. So you can see there, I'm guessing that would need to go like that. So that would it go around this way? Actually, yeah, that way, like that. Then there's a little indent there where it would sit, so that would have to come around onto there, like so. And there might be even, no, there's no hole for it, so I'm guessing that would just go all the way round. Just sitting there, so if I bring that up to about there. Yeah, I'll need to work that out. I'll put that to one side for the minute. I think the important thing is getting a belt onto the bottom. Right, let's have a look at the belts, see what we have. Don't think we've got anything of a suitable size, which is annoying. Frustrating. Oh, hang on a minute. Might have to double up, but it will allow me. So I'll put one on first. It should be really a thicker grade square belt. However, that might work on its own, you know. I'll leave that as it is. So that is quite under quite a bit of tension there. So this one goes back on the top like so. Now we need to get our little friend back into place, which is this one, this sort of annoying thing, so that would go like that, like so, but I need to work out how to get this back on. So we know it's going to go that way. You know, this is going to sit around here. I think that is literally just going to come over here. Let's have a look. So that's on there. Guess that would be like that. Yeah, there we go. So that slots onto there, and that slots there, so that's good. I think that's done. Yeah, there you go. So what I should be able to do now is bring this up. This will go onto here. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do first. I'll put the circlip back into place. So we've got a big circlip which I took off of there. Got the big circlip. I'm putting that back on. I'm going to take the needle nose pliers and just clip that back into place. Oh, botheration. That's really annoying. Okay, where did that go? Well, it obviously wasn't on there. Not to worry. Let's go and find my circlips. Right. Thing of these somewhere. Where are we? There we are. Actually, just checking in here that I've got no belts hidden away. And no, I don't, unfortunately. Do I? Oh, I do have some cable ties. That's okay, we'll try those out. Oh, they might be a bit big. However, they will do the job. Right, anyway. Okie doke, right, surf clips. So E-clip retaining washers as they're known. So ours is 3mm, I think. So is it 3mm? I don't know. Right, bear with me whilst I grab one of these out of the little tiny little packet. Okay, that's now out of the tiny little packet and onto there. Let's do this again. Well, that was about 100 times more successful because that's now back into play. There we're right. Now back into here again. So this one, that's obviously, is that down as far as it will go? No, it is. That's just down as it should be. Let's put this onto here, and that will sit. No, it won't. That will go like that. So that will go and sit like so. There is a little hook there which goes onto there, so I'll show the camera. There you go, so that's the plunger from the solenoid. So that will go onto there. I'll just rest down there for the moment. This will come into there, and I'll move that over to there because I need to get this back in, so that will come back and in place like that. And how did this go back in? I think that was on the bracket, actually was mounted on this side, so yeah, that's why the bracket was on this side. So I need to put that under there again. That comes around here. Really one way it can go in, I think. So you've got the bit at the top holding that in the moulding, in the casting rather. So there and there. There we are, I think. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Pretty certain. Was I wrong about that? Hang on a minute, I may have got that wrong. It may be that way round. Yes, that's better. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay, screw. That's the wrong screw. That's the right screw. Sorry about this. This is really fiddly actually. So there we go. That is. Are you coming in? There you go. Oh, come on. Ah, come on, just catch. Oh, so close yet so far. There you go. Now you're talking. So that's better. There we are. That is coming in better. There we go. And the final lock. There we are. Yes, that is how it should be. Now this one, that go like so. This needs to be, as it was like that, that needs to be a fair amount of the way back. Obviously so it can plunge and do what it should. Yes, it needs to be able to pull that down. So up there I think it was. Right, let's have a quick look at the other side of the casting. So very fiddly this one, you've got to do it all by feel. So you feel where the screw hole is on the solenoid, and to do that I've got to go quite low and out, then gently back in, and then just try and get it to a point where it's going to touch on the hole that it needs to go back into. And it's easier said than done because it is so fiddly. Right, let me sort this out. Right, now we're back topside. So I've sorted out that really annoying circlip, really annoying plunger issue. Basically what that little plunger seems to do is it directly affects the central idler. So the little cogs in there is almost like a gearbox which allows it to rotate in one direction or the other direction. And that seems to be governed by the plunger assembly. So if the plunger assembly is in a certain position, it will only go reliably in one direction. If it's in a different position, it will only go reliably in that direction. So hopefully, if we, yeah, the heads still rotate, but now they're driving everything else, there is going to be a bit more pressure on them, or the pressure on the head motor rather. But what I want to do now is work on this side and get the heads back into place. And I've actually put the screw back in there. That was to hold it in place whilst we weren't doing anything with it. I will take that out. I will move this that way. We will lift that slightly like so. Just bring this into play. Also need to get this little one, this little fella, put back into there as well. Now, when I did this before, I removed the whole board. So this time I'm actually going to see if I can do it by just bringing through. So you can see there, two conduits here, which are from the heads. So I'll just bring all of that through, like so. Now we have my little board over here. That's going to go back into play. So we had there we go. So this black one is right over here. Then we had this one. Ones are there. This one onto here. Then we had the head cables, which I will place underneath the rest of these. That's interesting. It's not always nice to see that. Let's put that back up again. Out the way. Must have a ghost or something. Right, let's put. So that can come under here. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's particularly tight. So I've got a feeling that this will go back on. Yeah, that will go back on like that. And what I'll be able to do is then get them in more sort of in situ. So you've got to sort of do it from in there, I think. Let me remember how I did this before. So I think I had that out. This sort of out the way. This main one at the front was causing the most issues. That can sit over there. Just take the one out of there so it doesn't stretch it too much. Then you've got that comes nicely into place there. Can then have that tucked over here, go into there. So that's one of the head pairs. This is another of the head pairs which just comes in like so. It's there in place like that. You've got this here, there's this nice bit of wire, oh sorry, this thing here that holds all of that nicely in place like so. There we go. That goes to board at the top. That tucks that out of the way. That should be cable tied as well, so we'll probably have to do that, although I might find, check what's going on without snagging anything. It is. That will go like so, like so, and then I need to get this back into here, so that will go back into there. Now I need to remember how it was done. I think it came in. Actually, I lie. I tell many lies, because this board actually, that goes underneath there quite nicely. That tucks in over here. This board actually sits out of the way of everything, and it is, that's what's holding it in place. So the board itself actually there, then there, underneath there, onto there, and that is this board back in place and out of the way. So all I need to do now is screw it back in. So this will then go into the box where I've put all the belts and also all of the screws. So I'm going to move the belts out, put those to one side for the minute, so that all that we have in there now are the screws that we're going to need. And the board is held in with some of these normal gold screws that we have that seem to find a lot of in this machine. So we'll put that to there. Whoops. There we go. Gently does it. There we go. So that should, yeah, there we are. That should be, it's doing its slight thing where it's, that's better. Yeah, that's a lot better, I think. Okay, that's in place. Now we got this one. Whoops. Over this side. And get that into place. Gently does it. Gently, gently, gently. There we go. There we go. Then we bring this one over. What we need to do with this one is we have these two connectors at the front which connect the front panel, and they've got to go into there, but they've got to go in such a way that they're not too stretched. This 3-pin one is the hardest, so I'll put that one in. I'll try and get that one in first. That's now in. This multi-plug one is just cumbersome, to be honest with you, really cumbersome. Which that's quite difficult as well, so there we go. In, and oops. Oh. Oops. I think with that, come forward a bit with this. That might help actually. So I'll come forward a touch there. Actually go back a smidge. And perforation into there. Oh, go on. There, hang on. There and here. Go on, you know you want to. Forward, there. There. I think we're in play. Yes, we are. We are back in play. So this should now go under there. And it will sort of slot underneath here, over the board there, and sort of nestle nicely there. This one back onto its little connector right at the back. There we go. And then that will just sort of just sit there, really, somehow, mysteriously. It'll just sit there and screw into here. So what I should be able to do is screw it into there, 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 and here. For some reason it has many points on the board, many places to screw it in, so we'll put it into here. So that's going to be our first point. Then we have some of these other ones. We've got this little one here, which is going to go over here. So, oh, your mother. Let's put that there. Put that there. There we go. So that's going to go in. got a, no, I think that's the wrong screw. Let's bring that out again. That's better. Yeah, there you go. And to go, where is it? There. It's very over-engineered with the amount of screws it's got going into it. But then again, that stops anything from vibrating, especially when in transit. So in a way it is good that it is over-engineered so very, very much. It's nice to see. And this one goes to here. I'll do. I think we've got round there as well. That's sort of tucked out of the way a little bit. Yeah, it would move, so I need to move this one out of the way. Pop that off gently, which will expose, yep, that will expose that one a bit more. Should allow me to go into there. And perfect, I think. No, that's a top screw. Hang on. There we go. That clips back into place, so you've got. Those definitely making contact. They don't feel like they are. Assume they are. Then go there. There we go. And I'm pretty certain that's actually it. That's back in place. The only remaining board now is the one underneath. So whilst we are putting that one back in, I'm going to do something, which is to coat everything with a nice bit of head cleaner, like so. So I may as well do this little job first, and by the time we've got it reassembled, we should be in a position to test it. So anyway, let's try this, see what happens. Right, first off, it's one of our heads, so I'll just do a general clean around, put that to there, just move this over the paper. There we go. I think that's coming together. Right, then we've got and around here. Pinch roller. There's actually quite a bit of grip on that pinch roller actually. That'll be okay. And general clean of the tape path. Check that's good, because that can cause us problems. The rest of that should be okay, although this upper head drum, I'm a bit concerned. There does seem to be a ridge between that, excuse that noise in the background, and the lower head drum, so I'm wondering if I need to adjust it slightly. I don't think you can move it in any other position, to be honest with you. Pretty certain you can't, but there does seem to be some potential for play up there. I thought it would only go into one position, but maybe there is the potential that you can move it around slightly. We will find out when we come to reassemble it and test it. Anyway, whilst that's evaporating, let's go underneath and let's sort this one out. So that's come off one of the little switches, so I'll need to, there's a little dust protector. So I'll just lift this up, see which one it's come off of. Neither seem to have one actually. I'll put it on that one. That just happens to be the one that's closest to me. Let's bring that forward. Push that in. There we go. Right, okay, let's put the board back down. Screw it back in. So one here. Okay, one over the other side. Right, put the baseboard on now. So that is like so. So that one, bring this all there. So this one will go, I think that goes in and down. Once that's in place, I should be able to screw it back down. So there's one. Hang on a moment. Hop. Yeah, that should be fine. That should be fine. So let's have a look. So there. Here. And one over there, put one here. one over there I think got knocked down by the cat when she was in here, so I think that has gone. Oh no, I can see it. It's right over by the door. So I'm going to chair across. And there you go. There, got it. There we go. So that one can go back on. Really big tracking wheel. Right, now let's put a few things away. So I've got my circlips that can go back in their little box. That can go, close that down. Let's flip this back over. Now, okay, that's back and upright. Let's power it on. This will be the first power on since I started working on the unit. So we'll need to check that nothing pops. It's never my luck with these things, you never know. Well, we've got a flashy clock on the front. And it does turn on and immediately ejects. And where's that tape I had earlier? There it is. Let's pop the tape in. It does lace. Let's do rewind. Fast forward. Oh, it's having a bloody good go. Let's try play. That's probably an idler issue, to be honest with you. But the very fact that it is trying, as you can see that. Go on, you can do it. Reshape those idlers. Go on, reform. There you go. Now you want to. Well, that's something you don't see that often on older machines. The Q and probably the review means you don't have to hold it in place to do it. So if I do review, that makes it shut down. If I do Q, like so, yeah, that doesn't sort of lock it in place. It actually goes. That's something you just don't see that on machines of this age. So I'm not touching anything, and it's fast forwarding. Also, the head is spinning as well. Let's borrow an RF cable. And let's see if we can get anything out of it. So RF cable is currently plugged into my ITT VHS, which I use for watching films when I've not got much on at work. In other words, when I've just finished work and I've got nothing else that I want to do, I might pop a film on VHS just to mainly exercise the deck. So let's stop this a second, and let's work out what we're going to do now. So I want to bring this around. And I want to get this plugged in. So, do I have another RF cable to extend it? I'd rather not. So, let's move a few bits about. Bear with me. Amazingly, it is almost generating a picture. I've moved the upper head drum slightly into a different position. And it's now seems to be definitely generating a picture during pause and fast forward Q, and also during play. But obviously these idlers are slipping like mad. Now, what I want to do is possibly get this out of the way so I can just having a look at how this is assembled. I want to see if I can actually get the whole cradle out of the way so that I can try something. So let's find a screwdriver. Let's go find out where the cradle goes. I'm actually wondering if I can do it without actually removing the entire mechanism, which would just be painful, to be honest. So let's spring there. No, that doesn't do anything, that's just for this top piece that keeps the tape in place. Put that back on. It is held in, circle it there, and let's spring here. If I move that inwards, do that, you can sort of potentially move this out of the way. So I'm wondering if I could do this. Probably not the best way to do it, to be honest. There's simpler ways to do this. What I will do though is give these idlers a clean. So let's get in there. Let's really get in quite low on head cleaner, so I need to go and fetch my other bit of head cleaner, I think. I'll go in there though now. Give that a bit of a run around. I might get some rubber renew onto this in a minute as well and see if that makes a difference. No, rewind was really annoyed as well. Certainly rewind wasn't working very well. That might be a rewind idler. But this is one of those machines where I don't really want to wind or fast forward tapes in it because it keeps it laced, and that can result in excessive head wear. So I'm very much of a school of, for these generation of machines, use them for playback only. Playback and recording only. Don't use them for fast forwarding and rewinding because you greatly accelerate head wear when you do that. It's best to use them just primarily for playback. So let's try this, see if that's made a difference. For some reason it doesn't like rewinding. As soon as you try to rewind, it puts the deck into a shutdown condition. Right, let's try. So, hang on a minute. That comes from. Oh, so this one, that engages just at the point where the tape is due to be wound back into the casing. That is your playback idler. That's, whoops, that's the one that's causing us the issues. Now, I've got another couple of idlers down there. Which of these? Now, I am going to, I don't like this stuff, but it really does fix a lot of these issues. I'm going to get some rubber renew onto this Right, bear with me. Well, I've worked out what the problem is, and unfortunately I don't have a replacement to hand. But it's not major, it is just the flat belt going from the capstan motor to the capstan flywheel itself. However, it's on pause at the moment, and excuse the screen flicker, but that's the pause I'm getting, which means this probably isn't the best set to do it, but that means all 4 heads seem to be working. So I've got a feeling we're getting somewhere with this. We just need, I'll just hit stop, and I'll also eject as well. All we need is a suitable flat belt for the thingy, capstan, and then we should be good. Anyway, I think that's a good place to end this, because this has been a bit of a mammoth session for me, and it's working. Apart from the need for that one belt, it's working a treat. The only thing it doesn't seem to do, which I just can't quite understand, but I suppose it would make sense, is rewind. So if I do rewind, no rewind. Everything else is fine. Could be a dodgy IC on the Syscon, but playback, if I hit play, you can hear that motor there, capstan motor spinning away trying to get something. Obviously pause, we have a nice picture because that's working. Hit play and do the fast forward. That's like that at the moment. That might be due to more down to the set rather than the player itself. Hit play. You see briefly it's trying to get a picture, but obviously it blanks it, so there's no picture or no capstan rotation. However, if I pause, there you go, that's the pause. So it does certainly seem to be working. Anyway, if you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time for more projects. Thank you and take care. Hello chaps, so this is currently in a pause state at the moment. Playback, I need to get a new capstan flat belt. I've adjusted the upper head drum. As you can see, they're all 4 heads spinning around nicely, and obviously it's not playing back, but we do have an image on the screen. If I hit play, actually, oops, sorry, unpause it, you can hear the capstan hunting to try and get this working again. Fast forward, there's 2 speeds of fast forward. There's fast forward slow, which is like double speed, and then fast forward fast, which you hold down, but obviously there's no picture. That could be just due to the set, in all honesty. If I go back to play and it tries, then obviously blanks the screen because it can't get a lock on the capstan. But pause is good, and that's a 4 head pause. It's actually working really well. Anyway, just wanted to let you know how it's going, because that just needs a belt and I think it'll be fixed. The only thing that doesn't work is rewind, and there's no rewind at all. If I do play and try to do rewind Q, shuts down. So that's normally the arm that does the sort of brings the tape into a position to wind it back. So I'm not sure what's wrong with that, but to be honest, I'm not going to be doing any kind of fast forwarding or rewinding on this deck. Fast forward works fine, as you can see there, but I'm not going to use this deck for winding tapes fast forward or rewind, simply because it laces it, keeps it laced, and it destroys the heads very, very quickly, which is a trait with these machines, and also with the Sony C-series machines as well. However, everything else works. Anyway, there we go. That seems to be another one potentially fixed.